Hi, friends. Today I'd like to tell you an amazing story. This is an experience that happened to me over 20 years ago. Not long after I started a new job, I went to a new church. I had just moved to the area. There was a lady at the church who had been in a car accident. It must have been a pretty bad accident because she needed a new car. Now, just prior to this experience, I had been listening to Mike Adkins' testimony on his video called Seeds for the Harvest. Mike had talked about how God rewarded him for his generosity. One time, his wife gave their van away to someone who needed it. Another time, Mike shared how God told him to buy a bus. This was a big bus, like a Greyhound. But Mike didn't know why he was supposed to buy the bus. But he did it. He bought the bus and he drove it home, still not knowing why he bought it. Can you imagine? A while later, a gospel singing group came to town, and while they were singing, God told Mike, "Give them the bus." So he did. God really blessed Mike Adkins in different ways because of his generosity. After I heard these stories, I wanted to try out this principle. So when I heard this lady needed a car, I prayed about whether I should try to help her. After a while, I believed that God wanted me to. I thought to myself, here's an opportunity to be generous far over and above tithes and offerings. So I asked myself, how much would a person need to buy a car that would even run? Cars are expensive. I decided that someone would need at least $2,000. Now, I didn't have a lot of extra money. I had just started a new job. In fact, I didn't even have the $2,000. But I did have a credit card where I could get a cash advance. I thought to myself, she might not even have a credit card that she can get a cash advance. So I got the cash advance and came back the next Sabbath to church with a $2,000 check. After church, I handed this lady an envelope with the check inside. If I remember right, those were the only 2 Sabbaths I went to that church. That's because I had just moved to the area and I was visiting different churches. So after that, I went to another Adventist church. Well, quite some time went by, maybe a few months. And one day, this lady came to visit me at my job. It surprised me. I really don't know how she found out where I worked because I had only been at her church 2 times. She must have done some good detective work. When they told me I had a visitor, I met her down in the lobby at my job and she really thanked me. She also gave me a nice card and a letter. The letter is pretty long, so I won't read all of it, but I will give you the highlights. It starts out, "Words are inadequate for what this has meant to me. I hope in heaven there will be a better language to convey what my heart feels. I have been wanting to call, but emotion clogged my throat and I cannot speak. So instead, I will try to tell you what a huge blessing your gift was. Not only in helping me get a car, but also to remind me of what an awesome God we have." Isn't that beautiful? She went on to explain how the Friday before I gave her the check, she felt very discouraged and frustrated. She talked about going to bed with a heavy heart and tears, but she realized that all her worries were not going to make it better, and that she wasn't leaving the problem in God's hands. So she prayed and gave it to the Lord. She said, "He knows what I need, and He can provide it if I am meant to have it." The Friday before I gave her the check, she had gone through the paper and noticed that Saturn had specials on their SUVs. Now imagine this. In the special, it said that they would triple up to $2,000 for a down payment. That was the exact amount I had given her. No, I had not read the ad when I came up with that number. I believe it came from God. The credit union said they would require 20% down for a down payment. She explained how she didn't want to ask anyone for that kind of money, and that she was at a loss as to what to do or where to turn. Her letter continued. As I was driving away from church, I opened your envelope. Imagine my surprise, it being enough for a 20% down for the Saturn SUV. So not only was $2,000 the perfect number to triple, but once it turned into $6,000, it also met the 20% that was required by the credit union for a down payment. She continued, "Not only did God answer my prayers, but it gave me the encouragement I needed to keep trusting Him and the assurance that He is still an active participant in my life." She went on to explain how a coworker had gotten a coupon from her dad, who had previously worked at GM. This coupon got her another $2,500 off the car. So the blessings just kept coming. Saturn offered her 3.9% interest. She ended up with a car payment less than she had before the accident, and she got a brand new car. She said, "God loves us so much. He orchestrates grander things than we can even imagine. He wants us to be witnesses for Him. I am not fond of red cars, but if it gives me a chance to tell others of the awesome miracles He puts together, then I am His to use." She explained how Saturn was trying to sell off their previous year's models, so this car was actually fancier than she would have chosen for herself. It had more luxury items, more bells and whistles. Isn't that the frosting on the cake? Now, on my end, I gave her $2,000 thinking that maybe she could get a used car that would at least run. But God had other ideas. He multiplied my gift, so she was able to buy a brand new car. Now, this would be a wonderful story, even if it ended at this point. But it doesn't. There's another miracle that I have to share with you, and it's absolutely incredible. God blessed me too, because in less than 2 years after this experience, something amazing happened. I got completely out of debt, and I had owed over $54,000. That kind of debt would have taken me years to pay off by the month. Now, if we want to talk about a return on investment, it's something like 2,700% return, 27 times my gift. Where can you get that kind of return on your investment? With God? Paul says a farmer who plants only a few seeds will get a small crop, but the one who plants generously will get a generous crop. 2 Corinthians 9:6. There's different ways we can be generous. We can be generous with our money, but we can also be generous with our time, our good deeds, our sympathy, our love, and our knowledge. There's a very famous verse where Jesus said, "Give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over." Luke 6:38. And here's another promise. Some people give much, but get back even more. Others don't give what they should and end up poor. Whoever gives to others will get richer. Those who help others will themselves be helped. Proverbs 11:24 and 25. That's exactly what happened to me. So if we are generous, God has promised to reward us. We can take it to the bank. But if we are stingy, like the farmer who only planted a few seeds, we will get a small crop in return. Many people only give because they will get something back from the person they give to. How sad, but that's the reality. Being generous involves a risk. We take a risk that we will give something of ourselves and get nothing in return from the person we give to. But let's think about Jesus. How much of a risk did Jesus take? And he did it knowing that most people won't even appreciate it. They won't even accept his free gift. They won't reciprocate his love. It's heartbreaking when you think about it. So how do we become generous? Well, to me, the starting point is love. If we don't have God's love in our heart, we won't be generous. We will be selfish. Because the natural human heart only thinks about itself. It's only when God puts his love in us that we become unselfish. And then we can be generous. At times, I haven't felt a lot of love for people in general, especially complete strangers. So at times I've asked God to put more love in my heart for everyone. It wasn't immediate, it wasn't instantaneous, but maybe within a few days or a week, I started noticing that I was feeling much more loving towards other people. It's a miracle how that happens. We can also ask God for an opportunity to be generous. Then when he gives us the opportunity, we have a decision to make. Are we willing to take a risk this person will not reciprocate our generosity? Usually a person in need doesn't have the ability to reciprocate. In her letter, this lady had said that she wanted to repay me. But even if she had repaid me, it would have only been $2,000. What's that compared to how God blessed me? God blessed me 27 times more than what I had given. So the good news is that we don't have to rely on any person in this world to bless us for our generosity. God is the one who has promised to bless us. And God has a million ways to do it. We just have to trust God to do what he has promised. I'll close with a profound principle that Jesus gave us. Jesus said, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." I hope you've enjoyed my story, and I'll see you next time.